If gold is not a monetary asset, why does the United States have 8,000 tons, 8,000 metric tons? Like, why don't you just have an auction and get the money? And they don't have a good answer for that. Well, the answer is that it still has a monetary role. They just don't want to talk about it. Now, take what I just said and combine it with my discussion about confidence in the dollar. Um, I'm not saying we're going back to a gold standard right away, but here's where the $27,000 comes from. It's not a forecast in the sense of, sit tight, it'll hit $27,000. It's an answer to a question. If you had to restore confidence in the dollar, and if you had to go to a gold standard to do that, which we might, what would the price of gold have to be to make that work?
Gold has played a distinguished role throughout monetary history, originating centuries ago as a universally recognized standard of value and a dependable medium of exchange. While the formal gold standard diminished in the 20th century, its influence endures through substantial reserves maintained by nations like the United States. With an impressive stockpile of 8,133.46 tons, the US leads in gold reserves, surpassing Germany, Italy, and France combined. This significant fact, highlighted by economist Jim Rickards, encourages reflection on the lasting relevance of precious metals in modern monetary policies. Despite gold no longer being formally classified as a monetary asset, its substantial reserves imply a continuing, if unspoken, monetary importance. Rickards, known for Currency Wars and The Death of Money, argues that understanding historical context enriches our grasp of America's accumulation of gold. America's accumulation of vast gold reserves dates back to the Bretton Woods era from 1944 to 1971, during which the US dollar was pegged to gold. During this period, nations entrusted a significant majority, approximately 90% to 95%, of their gold reserves to American vaults in exchange for US dollars. Despite the dissolution of the Bretton Woods system, the US retained its role as the custodian of global gold reserves, thereby solidifying its position in the global economic order. Maintaining substantial gold reserves serves several strategic purposes in today's post-gold standard landscape. These reserves act as a financial safeguard against potential economic volatility, fostering stability and bolstering confidence amid global uncertainties. Historically, gold reserves equivalent to 20% to 40% of a nation's money supply were deemed adequate to sustain economic stability. Jim asserts that applying this historical perspective to the current U.S. context, with approximately 8,133 tons of gold in reserve, estimates suggest gold must be valued at around $27,000 per ounce to effectively support today's monetary base, M1. This hypothetical valuation underscores gold's enduring relevance in global economic strategy despite its shift away from a formal monetary standard. We will present clips from Jim Rickards' interview with ITM Trading. But before we do, if you want more videos like this, please hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell for more updates. Thank you, and enjoy the video.
If gold is not a monetary asset, why does the United States have 8,000 tons, 8,000 metric tons? Like, why don't you just have an auction and get the money? And they don't have a good answer for that. Well, the answer is that it still has a monetary role. They just don't want to talk about it. Now, take what I just said and combine it with my discussion about confidence in the dollar. I'm not saying we're going back to a gold standard right away, but here's where the $27,000 comes from. It's not a forecast in the sense of, sit tight, it'll hit $27,000. It's an answer to a question. If you had to restore confidence in the dollar, and if you had to go to a gold standard to do that, which we might, what would the price of gold have to be to make that work? And it's not complicated. I took M1. M1 is a pretty good definition of the money supply. It's broader than M0, but not as broad as M2. Take M1, ask yourself, how much backing do I need to support the dollar? You don't need 100%. The Austrians bang the table and yell 100%. Historically, somewhere between 20 and 40% is enough to maintain confidence. How much gold do we have? 8,133 tons. So with those inputs, you say, okay, if I have 8,000 or so tons, metric tons, and I need to support an M1 money supply of X with 40% gold, what would the price per ounce have to be in order to make that work? And the answer is $27,000. It's just, by the way, it keeps going up. I said the same thing 6, 7 years ago, and I said $10,000. It's like, Jim, did you change your mind? I said, like, no, they expanded the money supply. In other words, if you change one of the inputs, you're going to get a different answer. So the reason the answer is a lot higher today is because the money supply is a lot higher. But take the money supply, take 40% of that, take 8,000 tons, divide the gold by the dollars, and the price per ounce is about $27,000. If you pick a lower price, you say, well, that's too high. We think it should be $5,000 an ounce. You can do it, but that is highly, highly deflationary. You would have to shrink the money supply to make that work, and it would be a new Great Depression. And that is a mistake that Churchill made in 1925. So to avoid the deflationary blunder, get it right, make it work. If you had to do it to restore confidence, the answer is $27,000 an ounce. So that's why I look at the confidence side of the equation. I was like, how are we doing there? And the answer is horribly. The U.S. is the greatest threat to the U.S. dollar.
As the current chair of BRICS, Russia is pushing an ambitious financial agenda. This includes increasing the influence of member countries in the global monetary and financial system and fostering interbank cooperation and transactions in national currencies. Among the key discussion topics is creating a potential BRICS currency as part of a broader de-dollarization strategy, moving away from the US dollar as the primary currency for international trade. As de-dollarization gains momentum, the BRICS nations are actively working towards establishing a new reserve currency backed by a basket of their national currencies. Although the BRICS members have not yet developed their unified currency, the idea is gaining traction. Economic expert Jim Rickards notes that the success of a BRICS currency would be bolstered by increasing membership. For instance, if Russia sells oil to India and receives payments in the BRICS currency, instead of Indian rupees, Russia could use that currency to purchase goods from other BRICS members like China or Brazil. This broader network of trade partners would significantly enhance the usability and appeal of the BRICS currency.
A lot of what you're hearing has come out of the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum that was held in St. Petersburg at the beginning of June. And Putin was there. Sergei Lavrov was there a couple of years ago. Like, nobody showed up because, Russia bad kind of thing. But now people realize that America is really the one prolonging the war in Ukraine, and Russia is, doing what they have to do to kind of protect their national security. They don't want to be backed into a corner. But now it's like okay to go there, and there were delegates and delegations, attendees, experts, et cetera, from over 100 countries who were there. And that's where a lot of the update on the BRICS currency was coming from. Now, the next BRICS summit, we talked last summer, I was giving presentations on the BRICS summit meeting in South Africa last August. But there's a rotating presidency. You host the BRICS summit on a rotating basis. Yep. This year, it's Russia. And they're having this summit in October in Kazan in the Russian Federation. And what they're going to do is admit a lot more new members. We have the list of applicants. I don't know exactly which countries are going to join, but Turkey would be high on the list, and some Malaysia, and some other, maybe Saudi Arabia and some other important countries. But the point is, this is the key to making the BRICS currency, whatever they call it, the unit or whatever, a very successful trading currency, and basically for trading, settling, balance of payments, et cetera, is to expand the membership in the group. So if you have two countries, Russia, let's just take Russia and India, for example, and Russia sells oil to India, which they're doing, and India pays in rupees, Indian rupees. Okay, that works. You don't need to go through SWIFT for that. You can use Russian bank accounts in Mumbai. But what's Russia going to do with the rupees? Well, they can buy a certain amount of chicken curry or whatever. But there's a limit on what you can do with the currency. So in a bilateral relationship where you agree to accept each other's currencies, that can work. It's not that difficult to do. But the problem is, what do you do with the currencies? Who really wants Russian rubles? Honestly, who wants Chinese yuan? Who wants Indian rupees? Now, but if you expand the membership, it's no longer two countries or four countries. but it's 20 countries. And all of a sudden you're Russia and you sell oil to India, but India pays you in the BRICS currency, not Indian rupees, but in the new BRICS currency. But Russia can take the BRICS currency and spend it in China, or buy aircraft from Brazil, buy manufactured goods from China, buy oil from Saudi Arabia. Or, well, they don't need the oil, but other manufactured goods from Turkey, as the case may be. Well, once you expand the membership, now the currency is really useful. So it's not just limited to whatever one country can sell you. It's expanded to what 20 countries can sell you. Guess which monetary union has 20 members?
Right.
The euro. So people who say this can't be done. I'm like, hey,
Exactly.
ever heard of the euro? It can be done very successfully. So the key is not, cooking up some formula, a gold standard exchange. Those are important issues. I'm not dismissing them, but I'm saying the real key is expanding the membership. And that's what they're going to do in October.
Good point. I'm always scratching my head when I have folks so dismissive of the BRICS. Our experts basically using the analogy, well, it's like a group of family members at a table. How in the world are you ever going to get them to agree to a common currency, whatever that looks like? But that's such a good point. Look at the euro. They got there.
Right. Yeah, they did. And again, there's a lot of technical work behind the scenes, but that work is going on. By the way, the BRICS started, I know it was a marketing gimmick by Goldman Sachs in 2000.
BRICS Plus, which includes Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and new members like Iran, Egypt, Ethiopia, and the UAE, is poised to represent nearly 45% of the global population, around 3.5 billion people. With Russia's economic strength and the potential inclusion of Southeast Asian nations, BRICS Plus is expected to enhance its global influence. This expansion aims to challenge the Western-dominated financial system, marking a shift towards a more balanced global economic order. Share your thoughts on Jim's prediction in the comment section below. Also, ensure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. Until next time.